Marc, I play drums.
I'm Steph, I play keys and sing.
I'm Chris, I sing and play guitar.
Okay, so first question, congratulations on your new album. How has the process been, the songwriting process?
It's been a long process.
Very long process.
Yeah,
yes.
we wrote these songs quite a while ago, and then after we got signed by Warner Brothers, it was about a year before we got to the studio, and then about another 8 months, a year till it was released. So it was a long process, and we had these songs, maybe about 20 songs, going on 30 songs that we knocked around, and we were in and out of rehearsal rooms for months and months, reworking things for the record company and trying new stuff. So it's been a long process.
But are you content with the album? Are you satisfied with the?
Yeah, we were really pleased, especially when it first came back. I remember we heard the tracks and then it was mastered, and we went for a drive, I think. And we've never had such good mastering. Who did it? I think it was Bob Ludwig. Who's a really, really great master, and we've never really heard the difference in mastering before. So that was a big thing for me, was hearing the difference in the way it brought all the parts together and all the music together. So I think.
And we worked with a great team, a producer called Julian Raymond and an assistant called Howard Willing out in LA. And we lived out there for nearly 2 months, working mainly for about a month in the studio. We never had that long before. So it was really exciting to be able to focus like that creatively, which we'd never been allowed before.
Yeah.
Who had the idea to your cover artwork?
That was a long process.
That was a long process.
Yeah, we had about three different ideas for the album cover, and this was sort of what the record company and everyone else settled on, because it was simple and sort of together. And
we wanted it to look British, and we found a few amazing photographs by a guy called Al Vandenberg. Was one that was like Camden in the 70s, but we couldn't use it in the end because we couldn't get the rights to it and things like that. So there was a lot of ideas going around, and then this was sort of a homage to all the art that we'd seen. We went out and took some shots, and the label felt it was important for us to be on the sleeve, which we went with. But we're happy with it. It took a long time, and there was a lot of sort of back and forth.
So we did 2 records on an indie label where you kind of just say what you want and they do it. But when you're on a major label, there's a lot more negotiations with the art teams and stuff, so it's a lot more compromising. But I think it looks really, the vinyl copy of it looks amazing.
Yeah,
like, I'm super happy in the
really pleased with it.
What are the pros and the cons of being at a major label?
Let's do pros first.
Getting 12-inch vinyl is quite exciting.
Accessibility, probably on a major. You get access to a lot more, and there's often bigger budgets, and the people are really nice.
Yeah. There's just a lot more people involved.
Things take a lot longer. That's the one thing for us, as being a new young band, really keen to work quickly. That's the one thing in the major label, which is a big corporation. Things just take longer. I think that's the con for us.
And I think your style of music seems a little bit vintage. Are you vintage people, like in clothing, furniture?
Yeah, I think we are actually.
On Armour Rare vintage.
No, we are.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I was fascinated with the early scenes, of bands I loved from the late 60s. Talking about Fleetwood Mac and Zeppelin and the Blues Breakers and all that sort of thing. When I discovered you could go sort of back in time and find the same equipment, find the same ideas, and that sort of decade in the UK, there was such a magic moment in terms of politics, economics, social reform, that it is a little intoxicating, and sort of pretend I live there right now.
We do. Pretend we're
These guys are especially 70s. Even like 70s puddings.
Yeah, we had a New Year's party, and it was a 70s desserts thing.
But not from the 70s, I guess.
No. But still pretty great.
Rehash them.
We had like a hollowed out pineapple for the hummus, and it was
we had
gross.
a vegetable hedgehog.
Yeah.
What would the soundtrack of your life be, if you had to make one?
That's a big one.
Wow. Is that
How many albums are we allowed?
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
one?
Jesus.
Oh wow.
I'll
Yeah, you
go
can make a
first.
compilation.
Okay.
There's a Blind Boys of Alabama record that he did with Ben Harper, which I really like. It's kind of a mixture of gospel and blues.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably take that.
I would have to go for an album that my parents were listening to before I was born, that still absolutely blows my mind every time I hear it, which is Solid Air by John Martin. That would
Yeah,
probably be
it's
mine.
incredible. I don't know, because the music I listen to doesn't reflect my life, because it's quite depressing. Because I was going to say something like Billie Holiday, but then that doesn't really reflect my personality or character of my life. So,
Maybe someone by Aretha Franklin.
yeah, maybe some Aretha Franklin. Depends what mood I'm in.
Well, isn't it? If it's
Big
going to be for
question.
life.
Yeah, for life I'll go with the Aretha Franklin.
Dave Quirk.
Yeah.
Graceland also.
I'll take that.
When did you start loving music and making music yourself? When you were kids or just when you joined teenagers?
I grew up with it.
Yeah.
I was in church choirs and my mum was a piano teacher, so there was always music around me constantly. So
I think I was the first picture of me drumming was I was 6 months old. My dad was a professional drummer, so I just grew up sitting behind his kit. Like there's pictures of me 3 years old, sat on behind his kit, looking out to thousands of people as he's playing. So yeah, it was never really a point that I got into music. It just was
I
always
think it
there.
was a flip for me, because I was made to do piano and other instruments at grades, and I always enjoyed listening to music and dancing and stuff as a kid. And we were always taken to a lot of sort of Spanish dances, and I was very exposed to different music. But it wasn't until I was about 14, 15 that I think, when I started singing and playing piano and writing of my own stuff, that I really found a love for it. Because before that, it was more like I don't want to practice my piano. Yeah, it was more of it had a little bit of a chore to it. Whereas as soon as I started writing my own stuff, and then you start exploring artists and stuff when you're that age. So probably it was always in my life from very young, but I think I probably started loving it a bit later, sort of 13, 14.
Are you party people, you know, after a concert? Do you go out often?
depends if we have a gig the next day.
Yeah.
Well, our bassist, if he was here, which he is, he's asleep. But he is.
His
you
party
know,
horse.
We've toured a lot. We've toured with a lot of people, and he
It's insatiable.
He just loves to party. Like
Even
we all
when
love
it's
to
5
party.
in the morning and you've all partied,
Yeah, he's like, what's
it's not enough.
next?
Guys, on to the
Yeah.
next one. But we can't go out, if we have a show the next day, we can't sing if I drink and then try and sing the next day on a tour. When we have one-off shows, it's fun, and when we have a day off. And then if you have a crap gig or something, you don't really want to have a party. So if you have an amazing show and then a day off, it can be amazing. But we're not.
I think we've got a healthy
Real
balance
losers,
of
yeah.
like partying and being professional, actually wanting to put on a good show. There's a lot of bands that, you know, they tour for tour, they don't tour to play gigs, and I think we're definitely all about the show, so whatever's going to benefit the show, that's what we do.
Do you have a special recipe for a hangover?
Do you know, the last tour, we had a night out and I drank White Russians the whole night. It was the weirdest hangover I've ever had, because I wasn't sick, but I just wasn't okay. You know, if you have lager, you kind of know what to expect, but White Russians,
I don't know
Yeah.
what is. Getting outside always helps. If you stay in, it's just.
It's essentially the only answer is bacon. Really, at the end of the day.
but actually,
love
Chris,
bacon.
every time you're hungover, you'll plough a burger for breakfast.
Yeah.
I will eat a lot.
You
when
a
I'm
cheeseburger,
hungover.
mate.
Food, essentially.
Yeah.
I hate being hungover.
That's so wrong, isn't it? It's horrible.
It's horrible.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with that one. If you had the chance, what question would you ask yourself?
Ooh.
I mean, if you
Shall I ask them my question? Oh, I've got to think of one. It's a good idea.
Would you ask yourself or people in the band?
Or the people in the band try to.
Okay.
Knowing how it was all going to go, would you still do it?
That's
If I said to you when you were 19,
Yeah.
still.
You're
No,
hang
it's
out
good.
for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
Question. It's going to be tricky, isn't
This
it?
is tricky.
I just want you to do my work, you know.
So when we first started this band, it was all started. We knew each other. We only knew each other through music. So the question I would probably have is like, are you aware of how long we're going to spend together for the next 6 to 8 years? Like, are you aware? This is pretty on a first meet. This is pretty much it for life. It's us four, and I don't really know you. Are you okay with that?
That's a good question.
I've got a good question. It's for you two. Can I ask it?
Depends what it is.
It's for you two.
Go on.
Did you have any idea that you two would fall in love?
No.
Fair play.
So that's probably it.
Okay, so maybe if the music didn't work out, you can still be an interviewer.
Yeah, well, I've got it nailed that.
Nailed that, yeah.
If you're going on stage, do you have stage fright?
I'd always get nervous. Yeah, I'd always get nervous. Until the guitar's on, then I'm alright. But until that point, I always get a little nervous.
There's always that sort of 10 minutes before, because there's so much hanging around. You're just hanging around for like hours and hours after sound check that you can't sit there being nervous because it'd be ridiculous. But there's always that 10 minutes before you go on, where it's not nervous, like, oh, but it's excited and sort of
Just eager to start.
Yeah, you just want to start. You just want to get on stage, because once you're on stage, you're so used to being there that you don't feel nervous.
I don't really get nervous.
It's because you're sitting down.
The worst backstage catering you've ever had?
Well, it's definitely going to be in the UK, because in the UK there's so many bands and so many venues, and they never have decent backstages if you're playing the toilet tour. And we played one festival. Where was it?
Don't know.
I can't even remember. Somewhere up
Midlandy.
somewhere, covered in mud. And there was like a canvas tent backstage, and everything was covered in mud, so all the vans were stuck, and it was just like a swimming pool it was like a cesspit, so no one could get to the catering. So by the time you tiptoed around to this catering tent, there was 2 tiny pop-up trays, one with cornflakes, the other with a kettle, and there was no tea bags, and there was no milk, and there was bananas, I think.
And there was
It was white bread.
an orange juice dispenser, but orange squash.
Orange squash, but no water.
But the best part of this story is, I went to go and make some toast. I was hungry, and they told me off because it was for crew only, not bands. So there wasn't actually a backstage. So the tea bag that we did take from it, we stole.
Yeah,
That was pretty bad.
that was probably one of the worst.
That was bad. We've had some really bad.
There was other venues. There was Molotov in.
Monto was alright.
What's
Yeah,
it,
Berlin.
wasn't it?
That was one that was covered in cocks, wasn't it?
No, that's the
Oh, that's the backstage room. Some backstage
Backstage.
rooms are interesting.
Yeah. Bands love cock.
Soundbite.
They love drawing penises all over walls.
Everywhere,
I don't know why.
yeah,
Like
they
it's
do.
weird. I've never done it.
do.
We should do it tonight, first time.
Yeah. There would maybe be some there.
Yeah,
At the
that
toilets.
would be.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everywhere you go.
Cocks everywhere.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Is that how we're ending it?
Yeah, on that note.
Cocks everywhere.
That's the last thing. That's all.
Great to meet you. Check us out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.